wanted her to kind of be like quirky, but also somebody with like kind of a heart of gold that's ready to like move forward, but maybe doesn't really know how it works. I think kind of being a weird kid in high school myself, I went to an art high school, so everybody was the weird kid, but you have like these tendencies of like not fitting in because you like certain stuff. And I kind of wanted to like celebrate that, where it's like, oh, I was, instead of me being the weird kid that like spent my time singing in choirs with old people or stuff like that, like she has different hobbies that are still pretty weird and different than your average teenager, but very much a part of who she is and like things that make her her.
So you've been playing Cecily for a little while now. We are a little more than halfway through the season. Has anything surprised you? Has anything happened that you didn't intend for Cecily to do or say? Like something where you're like, I didn't remember creating that, but that's happened.
I thought that she would be like weird, but kind of a team player. And one thing that like she's really struggled with, I think, is the fact that she wants to get everything done herself and she wants to do it her way. And I didn't really necessarily write that in, but I think it makes so much sense for her as a person. And it's not necessarily like the way that I planned on it going, but it's such an interesting thing for her to have to grow with and deal with, is that like she knows how she wants things done and she thinks she knows how she can get it done, but it's not always going to work all the time. And it's not always the best way to handle things. And I think her journey of learning that has been really, really cool. That was like a favorite memory of mine, but in like a sad way, because I really learned, like it was just so recently, but I got to learn so much about Cecily really in that episode, because that was really playing with her kind of solitary nature that she's had all of her life, and then kind of having to learn how to trust her friends and also trying to face that. And I thought that was really cool because it was like a big turning point for her.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interview with the cast of Becoming Mighty and Morphin, the Power Ranger tabletop game from the Alternia archives in the Rem Alternus universe of tabletop gaming. I am here today with Lottie West, aka Cecily Adwell. Lottie, welcome to your interview. Yay!
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm glad, that makes it all easier. Before we talk about Cecily, who's your creation, is there anything that you, Lottie, would like to let the viewers, because it's not listeners this time, they're viewers, because there's a picture. Would you like, is there anything like generally you'd like to know the viewers to know about yourself?
Well, I am a huge nerd performer, burlesque dancer, content creator here in Chicago, Illinois. I perform at anime conventions and steampunk conventions, and I help write LARPs, and I'm just an all-around nerd. I like girly nerd stuff. I like to do makeup, do wigs.
Before we get in the interview, do you have a favorite character or a favorite wig that is non-Power Ranger related? Because I know that you've done Power Morphicon, but do you have like a non-Power Ranger favorite?
Mitsuri Kanroji from Demon Slayer, and my favorite colors are pink and green, and she has this beautiful like pink and green hair. It's in 3 braids. She is like a really strong Demon Slayer, and her power is like love breathing, because everything in Demon Slayer is breathing, which is weird, but it's anime, so whatever. And she was kind of bullied out of her village for having like really, really weird hair and also being stronger than all the boys. And I like really relate to that as a girl who is a lifter. Like I love powerlifting. But I'm also super girly.
Can you like give a blurb about Cecily in 3 sentences or less?
She's an old soul, I'd say, for sure. She marches to the beat of her own drum, and she always wants to learn more. She's very curious.
So the next few questions are about the Essence 20 system, the gameplay itself. So let's start off with kind of, we know that you're kind of a big nerd, and that probably factored a lot into coming to the Power Rangers tabletop game. Did the fact that it was like not one of the big three, not a Dungeons and Dragons system, did that influence your decision to come play it, the art or the artwork on the cover or anything like that?
Not particularly. I also play a Star Trek TTRPG that I've been doing for about 2.5 years. So I actually, that's probably like a non-traditional system is probably where I'm most comfortable,
Hmm.
ironically.
How does
But I was like Power Rangers.
yeah, how does the Essence 20 system compare to that Star Trek system?
Well, in the Star Trek system, 20s are bad and ones are good.
Oh,
So that always messes me up. And like some days I'm rolling, like I usually roll so good in the Star Trek game. Like I roll like ones a lot, and you can see it because it's on a digital roller. And I just, I feel like I'm a little bit more cursed in the Power Rangers game. That's probably just my brain deciding that the rolls just aren't in my favor. Um, I like the system. Sometimes like just like this isn't like a an essence 20 thing, but it's more like the roll 20 thing that like sometimes it gets a little stuck. And I heard that it might be because I use a Mac. So
I don't know, but it does get stuck. It has gotten stuck for others too. So it's
yeah.
hard to say what the thing is, but it's more about Roll 20 we can't do much about, but Essence
Yeah.
20 is the system. It is what it is. Um, what do you think is was the easiest part of learning for about the Essence 20 system? What's been the easiest part of gaming with it for you?
I think I think that the way that the point spend goes is really helpful in character development. I think that like the way that you're like kind of picking the way that your strengths are as a character can really help you develop who your character is going to be and like their personality traits. And I think that's kind of cool because you're able to like build it side by side rather than like I rolled all of these numbers. Now I have to figure out how the character kind of fits into that.
Okay. Is there anything that's been really difficult?
I struggle with like remembering all of the cool stuff I really have at my fingertips. Like I have like a Word doc that like not a Word doc, I'm like a Google doc that has everything that I have, but sometimes like I forget that I have something until like afterwards and I'm like, "Dang it, I could have used that." So I think it's just like kind of getting more comfortable with it cuz now that I have kind of discovered like more of those things, I am able to utilize more of the really awesome things that you get as a character, but it has like a longer learning curve, or it might just be my brain.
No, it's definitely a learning curve. That's one thing I've learned as a GM is that there's a learning curve. And with every level up, you seem to get something that brings more power or something
Mm-hmm.
to your character, more to remember, lovingly so. So I hope that you're able to do bring in some of those cool things.
Yeah,
Is there any cool thing you haven't done that you're like you really like if you could pick one cool thing that you wanted to do that you didn't get a chance to do?
I have really been wanting to use. I'm going to scroll into my document really quick just so I can see what it's actually called before I butcher it. I wanted to use like the power sword with the +1 health, but I really want to have the time to shout huzzah because that's going to be Cecily's little power cry thing because I think it fits really well within her Ren Fair background. Basically, uh, when you exclaim huzzah, you get an edge roll to any smarts roll, which I think is really cool. And it would be so fun, especially if it was something involving like history or something that like Cecily would really know. Because I would kind of love to see that character wise as well as mechanic wise.
And that's under your Eureka power, right? Where you
Yeah, it's
have
Eureka
the
Power, but I renamed her Huzzah.
no, yeah, you can totally do that. I just wanted to make sure that's what it was for
Oh,
the
yeah.
people looking at the book. Like, what can the
Yeah.
Blue Ranger
Yeah.
do? That Eureka is something that is germane to the Blue Ranger.
I really like that I get to be a strong girl. And I think that it's fun that Cecily's highest stats are aside from like performance checks is might, and I think that's really cool because again I like to be a strong girl and those are really fun, especially when she gets to use her sword and then it's like might and she's strong and she's also like not afraid to punch something in the face, which I think is kind of cool.
Or take a heart out of something.
And take a
Um,
heart out of a putty.
yeah, I don't know if that's your favorite memory, but that is one of
Oh, it
mine.
is a good memory. I love that a lot. I also just I really liked the moment when like Brick gave up his time to like be in the finals of the game, the competition, so that Cecily could get a shot. I thought that was really cool. It was like a really like that was probably any of the times that really any of the Rangers have kind of made it out of their way to like be her friend. I think is really cool because it's not something that she is particularly used to. Like even just like Jane asking her um about like art things and stuff, like because Jane does art and like they'll talk about it, and I think that's really cool. But also, I really like that for the Halloween, everybody asked advice except for Brick on the costumes from her, and I think that that would be like such a feather in her cap. Like, yes, I am the costume diva of Angel Grove.
Yes. Until that backfired on you. Say that in the season finale, Zordon is revealed to be a genie and would grant Cecily three wishes. Any three wishes that they had. What three wishes would Cecily have for Genie Zordon?
um, definitely no more dangerous characters coming forth from Rita Repulsa. She would wish that because it would take a lot of stress off of her back. Um, she would probably also want unfettered access to some of the ancient texts of like Europe or something. Like be like, can I like look at this book that you're never allowed to open unless you have like gloves? Can I look at it and like also have the missing pages or something? She'd want like some knowledge, definitely. Some historical knowledge that other people wouldn't particularly know. Um, and then I think maybe she'd want a sword that would be like encompassed with amazing swordswoman skills that would be like the prettiest, most interesting sword in the whole world. Something legendary, like something Arthurian, really.
Ooh. You can make your own Arthurian legend sword as you become a more powerful Blue Ranger.
Well,
Because you get the ability to the poison tip is just the beginning of the
oh,
power.
she can become the Lady of the Lake sword.
It's true.
It'd be kind of
Uh,
fun.
yeah. So, is there any mechanic that you found in the game system that has kept you from like getting closer to any of those things, like either making yourself more powerful or has kept you from playing Cecily to your fullest?
It's hard when you roll like when we do the rolls at the beginning of the week to see if we've upgraded, and like if you have like a few sessions where you just don't make the cut over and over again and other people are, and you're just like, I just want to upgrade, working hard. So that's kind of a struggle when you just like when the rolls are just not in your favor and it just takes a long time to kind of get those upgrades that you're really seeking, especially if like the big baddies are getting badder and you don't really have anything to face up with them as much as you'd like to.
And when you do get it, you roll a d20, so it takes the longest time to get it to you too.
Yeah, you're like, great, okay, I finally got it, but I get to have it in like 3 months from now.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so if you could tell Cecily anything, what's one thing you would tell Cecily if you could write a letter to Cecily that she would get?
um I think I would tell her that it's okay to build connections with other people and to make friends. And it's hard because she's so used to moving and like not being around. But maybe if she gives it her all, it won't be the end like every other time she's moved has felt like. So if you want those connections to stay, you can work for it, and you can work for it just as hard as they are. And if they're both like, if your friends want to be your friends as much as you want to be their friends, it can work out. It doesn't have to end just because you move or people change wherever they're at or people go to college or something like that. And I think that she's so afraid of losing people that she hasn't made that connection. Um, but yeah, I would tell her to not be afraid and to reach out and tell your friends how much they mean to you.
So in session 0, as an icebreaker, we started talking about kind of the desserts that you'd have. And now we're going
Mhm.
to go the opposite direction. If you had a dinner party or a dinner out with all of your friends, what appetizer would you absolutely have to have?
Oh, I think I think Cecily is a spin dip girl. I'm gonna do some spinach artichoke dip.
Spinach artichoke dip. Very classic.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
with
So
bread, not crispy chips. I'd say.
with bread, no crispy chips. Um, let's say Cecily is tasked with making up a little tagline for the Angel Grove Tourism Board. What would Cecily say to get someone to visit Angel Grove?
Hmm. Maybe sunshine and classic vibes, and like in parentheses, don't worry, the Rangers will defeat the evil guys.
That's perfectly fine.
Everything's gonna
Um,
be fine.
everything is going to be just fine. Is there any questions you have for me as your game master Zordon?
Hmm. Is there anything you'd like me to be bringing out? Is Cecily? Is there anything that's like you're like, man, I wish I knew more about this, or this?
Not without spoiling things that are to come and choices that you will need to make. Because one thing that I do that I bring to this isn't just a sense of ceremony, but a sense of the fact that you are 18-year-old teenagers, essentially, and you still have all of your life ahead of you. And so
Yeah.
trying to bring in the elegancy of, yes, you're a Power Ranger, but you're also an 18-year-old that has life choices ahead of you and maturing that you need to do.
Yeah.
Because at 18, our brains are not fully functional yet. I don't care what
No,
anyone says.
they're
So
not.
so it's so it's less about that, and it's more about, and I've really enjoyed the way everyone has reacted to situations of the question of, are you happy? The question of your greatest fear, the question that asking the questions during the test episode. It was about being able to explore that balance.
Mhm.
Um, do you feel like you hit that balance with Cecily between Power Rangering and, Cecily having to grow up essentially?
I think I have. I think that she's coming from a very different kind of world and kind of different universe, and having like friends that sort of are completely opposite to what she's used to has helped. And then those friends also being the people that she like fights space alien monsters with also has kind of pulled a different side of her and forced her to see things differently.
Uh, do
um
you,
yeah,
do you have an alien that you're hoping to see in the last episodes as we begin recording the end of season 1?
I mean, we already got my nightmare boy Pudgy Pig out of the way.
Pudgy Pig. Pudgy Pig is out
he
of the
is
way.
he's out of the way, and he's a nightmare, and I was so scared of him as a kid. um oh, I mean, I just kind of want to actually face Rita. I don't know if you guys have like picked up on it, but she's obviously like, her parents are both Ren Fair Rennies. Like, they travel around the country. Her dad is like a swordsman, and her mom does like historical, like reenactment kind of stuff, like cooking or like needlework and stuff like that at various Ren fairs. So she's kind of been born into this world. She has chickens that she loves very much. That she wakes up at the crack of dawn to get eggs from, and she has like a little fun blue egg apron, because I didn't know that those existed until very recently when I was looking for an egg apron, but an apron that looked like an egg for something. And then I was like, oh, there's egg aprons. Cecily has one of those. um, and yeah, I think that her Ren Fair background and her Ren Fair like stuff has given her this very like out of touch, like she wouldn't really know anything about like who Harry Styles is or something like that if you asked her. but she can tell you all about Anne Boleyn. Like,
Well, Angel Grove High does have a madrigal choir.
well,
You just haven't gotten to hear them much because it's summer and you're not in classes, except for when you're at school. But that is just a hazard of life. Um,
she might have to give it a shot.
yeah, you never know. You may or may not have time, depending upon the choices you make. We got to explore a little bit of Cecily as a competitor, as opposed to
Hmm.
Cecily as like a singular person. How was that episode for you? Was that like a really difficult one? Do you feel like you
It
got to
was
explore some of Cecily's shadow side?
it was difficult because I didn't really realize that Cecily is so competitive. And I think it comes from a place of not really having a lot of friends that are her age, that like she doesn't really have anything to lose. So she's kind of usually ready to just kind of do whatever it takes to get what she needs to. And it's never really from a place of malice. It's more from a place of just personal well-being and gain. And I think that her in this competition and her not doing her best and her failing at a few different tasks really set her off, because she's used to doing things again on her own. She's used to being like on her own. She's not really the kind of person that's been hurt or um upset by the fact that she didn't have a lot of friends really until now. Like, it just, her having the Rangers and her having her friends has kind of brought a little bit of attention to like what she didn't really have before. So it's kind of a sore spot. I think her not winning really, really affected her, because she comes from a super supportive household where, her parents are sweet and they love her and they give her as much as they can. And she just is kind of expected in turn to be the best that she can be. Whether that means winning a scholarship or um, getting accolades in class. Like, it's just like kind of the deal. Like, she feels like it's like a trade off, but it's not really ever been addressed.
I felt like it was something we don't get to explore a lot in the Rangers, is kind of the shadow side of
Yeah.
the Ranger personality, because the Blue Ranger is very intellectual traditionally, but
Hmm.
that also means they are kind of an outcast. They do kind of march to the beat of their own drummers. They tend to have interests that other people don't necessarily have.
Yeah.
And so there's a shadow side to being a Blue Ranger that doesn't always get to be explored. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, she thinks she's just used to kind of being the best at whatever she needs to be, so it's hard when she's not. Different Ren fairs and stuff like that, and she was kind of used to being like semi homeschooled, semi like digitally schooled. Like, she's just very used to not really making friends. Like, she has a lot of older friends, like her parents' friends. She's got that old soul where she can talk to people. So I think that like her actually hanging out at Ernie's is really cool. And like, I think she's spent a lot of time there because she has a lot of artistic interests as well as like physical ones. So if that means that she can like, uh, practice some fencing in a like spare room, that's pretty cool for her. Uh, I think I'd love for her to like maybe explore just maybe hanging out with her friends in like different spaces, just because I don't think she's really ever given herself a chance to like go over and have a sleepover or something. Like, if Jane invited her over for a sleepover, like, I don't think she's ever done that. I don't think she's ever had like a girl best friend. I don't think she's ever um like done anything really mischievous. I don't think she's ever really broken the rules. Like, I'm not, Power Rangers are usually the pinnacle of moral justice, but I mean, like, teenager shenanigans.
Yeah.
She's never really been one of those people. Like, she's never stayed out a little too late or lied. So I think if that's like more of a like metaphysical place, I don't know if that makes sense. When I watch Power Rangers, my favorite Ranger is always the Blue Ranger. Like, I've cosplayed like Femme Billy. I just love Blue Rangers. They're usually just so fun. I don't know. They just have usually like this weird energy about them that I just appreciate. And I was pretty sure that I wasn't going to get pink, but I didn't know what I was going to get. I was like, maybe green, because I kind of had like Dino Charge, like the Green Ranger in Dino Charge. He is like a fencer, and I was like, maybe that'll tie in or something like that. Like, I couldn't really figure it out, but yeah.